the extremely tanky Scion is not necessarily going to be a match for Hansama's late game damage.
Especially when there's so many things they can construct. You mentioned it already, the Cataclysm is going to be so incredibly good at just denying the train. So nothing really gained just yet, but you can see in the lanes, it's BLG getting the majority of the shove here as there is the snare on top of Lebrov. He's down to 200, and that's just first blood. It goes over to On, and this has started early for BLG.
Yeah, this is massive, and Hansama going to potentially lose some farm here as well. We'll see how much of this he can pick up once that cannon so desperately. And BLG, with all this prio, looking for the dragon. No denial available, even with Lebrov's unsealed, he doesn't have the smite ready.
Well, this is a 3v3. The flash actually out from Beishwan as the double knockup comes through from Lebrov. They find the root onto Elk, but I think he's going to be able to make his way out to safety. Some good aggression here for G2, but...
I like that move from Lebrov there because the positioning of Elk away from the turret makes him a vulnerable target. Speaking of vulnerable targets...
Yeah, On in a lot of trouble here as Lebrov looking to try and make his way in. A lot of damage here already by Skewmon. Just needs another flag and drag. And Elk, remember, does not have the flash, so needs to get back towards that turret, try and keep himself safe. And Hansama, he's come down, he's popped the ghost, and that will be the kill. Going over to Hans, the Ignite is now on. And now Bin's in a little bit of trouble as well. Broken Blade. We'll see what he can actually get done. Just dashes away as he sees Beishwan, but there is that kill. And it's a double for Hansama in that bottom lane. G2.
As they're just going to group around him. I mean, Caps does have ultimate if he could find the right angle.
Well, On could be in a little bit of trouble here as Hansama putting some feathers on the ground, and On now finds himself in the back of the pit. No flash available, and he is not getting out of this. BLG, can they actually get anything off the back end? And the answer is no, as Caps goes down to 50%.
The tempo, because if G2 get a dragon here and buy that extra time, it really puts a big wrench in their gears. Well, looking for the cap
pick. Combo, and even with the flash, it is going to be a lot of damage, and a Caps going down. There is the snare connecting onto Skewmon as well. He does make it out.
Caps flash still gets caught, so now doesn't have his flash available for a follow-up potential setup there with the Nocturne.
Now they don't have any of the ultimates, though.
Yeah.
And On isn't level 6 yet, and so Hansama is actually feeling like he's pretty capable of just walking up here next to Lebrov.
And Caps does have TP,
control.
And they are just going to give this away. Like you say, this is actually kind of huge. Like I said, buying that extra time feels massive, and
I think we need to worry about it too much.
Sunfire getting some work done here.
A lot of value, yeah.
Yeah.
The old standing next to him is bad tactic. I've seen this play before, ladies and gentlemen, but now G2 look, no, they don't have quite the answer. As Knight might be going down in response, the flag and drag to try and finish it off as he gets caught on the minions, but I think was dead anyway. On moving on in, and now Beishwan will get knocked up. Not another spell shield in sight there. So the flag goes down, but that is going to be the last little hit in sort of like an honest 5v5. Still do think that BLG's composition can work. And there is another shockwave. They find their target, and down goes Skewmon. That is going to mean no smite for this battle around the Herald. But can they still win with those key cooldowns now used up as the rest of G2 now in position? Throwing out a lot of these rocks, and Bin just putting himself in front of Hansama. And now with only one item, like Bin is just so hard to get through. So that will be the Rift Herald going down, and BLG reasserting control of this game.
Yeah, really careful fight as
yeah, the train coming on through as Lebrov is going to be able to make his way out. The Pop Blossom on absolutely all of them. And that is the Scion getting a kill, but Hansama gets another one as he's now looking to back away. Look at this health bar. The Blade Caller doing so much work. The Blade Caller from BB. And Knight is able to flash away, but still, I think there's the fear of God in them now.
I just don't know if I really agree with that play there from On. Hansama handles it so incredibly well there. 3,200 damage in the skirmish. He's already so big.
So that is going to be the second dragon going over to G2. So they got the Infernal, and they now get the first mountain that is on offer, and there's a lone Chemtech dragon for BLG so
One thing
far.
I will say about BLG with this Nocturne Orianna is they have absolutely not hesitated. The execution has been crisp, and it is a simple composition to execute, but they know the right timings, and they have been able to get insane value out of this early, which has given them a pretty significant gold lead. But it's fights and overextensions like this where On goes in here, Elk follows up, but you end up losing him, and then watch Hansama. Elk has turret aggro here. Knight also eats a shot, and then the follow-up from Broken Blade gets the flash out of Knight. Just so scary to be forcing these fights into this Hansama that's so huge already.
They're actually getting a lot of work done there with the Acathian Rain. Nicely done. As Skewmon making his way over on, caught out of position. There's the knock-up, and the Nico is dead. Very dead.
You know, really outside of Knight getting caught that one time and the Elk death, like that's all of the gold for G2 they've picked up has been on this support punishes.
Yeah, now Beishuan actually looking for Skewmon here, but Labrov is in the area. The fear is going to come on through, but Beishuan, you don't win the 1v1 anyway. So he's just going to go down. I do appreciate the courage.
Knight had TP, but didn't commit it there. And perhaps there's a miscommunication or a disconnect there on this one. We are going to see a TP potentially interrupted. Yep. It is interrupted.
Finn was trying to make his way in there. As now Elk is also trying to do the same, but Hansama is pretty happy with that. Elk going to have to ult away. I mean, I feel like they're just kind of saying thanks for the leash at the moment, because right now the map is looking pretty dark. They do manage to get this ward in. They might be able to just take that one down. 3,000 health on the Dragon. There's the paranoia. The rest of G2 are pushed together, but that is a beautiful stopwatch there as the fear does come down, but Caps still at full health, gets the seismic shove. Labrov in a bunch of trouble. The Pop Blossom going to be coming on through, but it's only on to one. It is Knight grabbing a kill, but Beishuan also going to go down. There's a second as the double comes in, but like you say, Hansama still at full health, and there is the Feather recall. A terrifying Featherstorm as well as he uses it aggressively, but these health bars are so ridiculously low. Knight finally to go down here as Skewmon, the absolute hero, to try and make sure that someone dies. The Acathian Ray, my God, Caps almost just dies from that drive-by.
Clear your vision. I'm going to start this up. I have way more control. Caps can just zone them out. He can just lock them out here completely.
Well, there's no paranoia, and Beishuan doesn't have flash, so it's so hard for him to get here. They can just burn this one down. Oh my God, it's stolen by Knight! And G2, they were so close. They thought they had him in checkmate, but it's the Orianna that steals it away. And now they can just walk their way out if they'd like to. Bin just standing in front of the G2 members. It's highway robbery here for Bilibili Gaming.
And G2, all they can do is walk away with the tail tucked between their legs. There's no play to make here. Labrov's looking for something here, but I think he needs to be respectful. Hansama.
Well, Hansama really didn't want to press his R button, as there he goes. Paranoia comes in, but the shockwave connects. Hansama down so incredibly low, and Elk is there with that killer instinct to try and take him down. He has to use the flash, though, and now finds himself in a very uncomfortable position, as it's a slight overextension here. Moves back into the waiting arms of Caps, who's over that wall. But BLG, they still managed to deal with Skewmon, as well as that triple fountain laser that we were talking about.
I mean, BLG find the angles there. Like I said, if for any reason Hansama has to ult early, he really didn't want to. Then he becomes vulnerable. Then he becomes killable. Broken Blade not going to get the interrupt there, but it's tragedy after tragedy for G2. It has a ward.
Absolute insanity, as Beishuan does have his smite up and available.
They're just going to pull it out of the pit, though. I don't know if he can look for it. He's trying.
Yep, looking for the opportunity, but it's Knight once again. Man, Knight's smites have been so good that he doesn't have.
Yeah, he's
still going to be able to lock that one down.
Let's watch this again here, how low it goes. It was a bit of a crazy one.
All right, the feather pull
220. Yeah, a bit early on that one. Skewmon not happy.
As far as being able to get in amongst it, still not with an IE done yet, as Caps looking for a wall onto On, who does manage to get past that pesky
very punishable
turret.
now.
Yep, there's the train coming in, looking for Caps, finding the angle there, doesn't get the CC though, does do the damage, but the Talia will be okay. Seismic Shove throws back this Scion, who is gonna flash away. The Shockwave finds the back line, but the redemption is so good. Now On looking for the angle, but he doesn't quite get it. He just goes down. The front line is now dead, and Hansama, he's not actually involved in the battle. The GA I was talking about before is gonna be utilized, but then Skewmon just explodes, and BLG, they have to sacrifice their support, but everyone else remains standing, and that's
and the timing of this as well, right before Baron. And I just don't agree with the call to look for the wall onto the Nico that has splash, has heal available. They really overextended on that one, and that's Baron into Dragon here. Bin is the one who goes for the punish, right? Caps doesn't end up getting caught by the CC here, but look at now how split G2 are into a composition that can engage from so far away. And look at this, so much damage is absorbed by Bin here. Nice timing, but you're not the target.
God.
They get Hansama. It's a trick here. Hansama Hansama now so low on health that it's hard for him to walk up, and that means it's front-to-back territory here. Ben takes out Labrov. Skumon left on his lonesome, dies twice. Will lose that critical GA. Baron goes over, and you got to imagine Dragon is with it. And G2 were in such a good position in this game, but now it feels that's all but washed away. Just coming in and setting that one up without the Nocturnal, just walking forward and looking for it. And I take back what I said about the inhibitors, is this one in the mid lane is very vulnerable.
God, Knight does so much damage. Hansama lost half of his health bar from a W. He just pressed dissonance, and Hansama has to walk back home. And BLG, they're going to take 2 inhibitors in the blink of an eye.
Back up here. They could look for the end.
Yep, let's see whether they find an angle here, as the shockwave could be so pivotal. Bin could tank these turrets for about 15 years. There it is. He finds the back line as Beishuan gets on in there. Elk with the killer instinct, and that is all of G2 lying on the floor in the blink of an eye. The wall not going to do anything good for G2 here, and they're going to have to say goodbye to their first Nexus in this best of 3.
What a great game to start off the series, though.
Pretty cool, as On is going to lock away the big bad Brad, and Ezreal Bard in this bottom lane once again.
I mean, the Ezreal Bard just feels really good in the lane, and there's so much warping of objective control you could do as, Labrov lurking.
He is well and truly out of the paddock here, as Elk going to have to use a headbutt pulverize, an arcane shift, but he's not actually able to get it in the trample. Still going to be able to lock him down. One more auto will do it, and there it is, Hansama. Yet another first blood here for the AD carry of G2.
Yeah, really nice wraparound there from Labrov. On, not there. You could see Elk realizing in that moment. He goes for the final skill shot because he knows he is dead, can't get out. Hopes to trade it back there with a turret shot, but is unable to do so. Hansama picks up the kill, and once again, and with the wave in the in the bottom lane, also in control here for Elk and On. Just going to be a dragon take, and not really much that G2 could do to answer it at the moment.
Shout out to Labrov as well, using the barrel skin, my personal favorite player. So that's pretty cool stuff. A lot of people do really like the cowbell. Don't blame them. But that one is the one that Beryl uses every time.
Doesn't have a flash disadvantage at the moment, but at the end of the day, Dragon was not for free. You know, it was a big trade-off here that G2 were able to get in return.
Oh, Bin actually going very aggressive here as they trade the ultimates. The needlework coming down. Remember, there is no flash for Broken Blade, but he finds that the leap strike comes in. The snip is not going to land, and Broken Blade just brings down the lamppost.
As watching this again, Broken Blade has a level advantage here initially, but as you mentioned, does have the flash disadvantage. Plays it confidently, goes into the mist here, hits the counter strike. Bin has to stack up his Q here. Broken Blade disengages during that moment, avoids the needlework. And Bin is out of stacks now, and Broken Blade's super confident, right? And Bin's like, this is not the situation I want to be in. If he looks for the auto trade, he fails, has to flash away, and Broken Blade predicts the Q, sidesteps it, and gets the kill.
Yeah, beautifully done.
Pretty tough situation. As there's that flanking TP I was talking about. Knight going to look for the angle.
Yeah, flying on over. All right, there's the engage. Skumon down to 50% already as he steals away the Nature's Grasp. There are roots everywhere. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's now Knight right in amongst it. BB gets in there. They're on Beishuan. He's going to be the first target, and down goes the Xin Zhao. That is feats of warfare over to G2 and control of this Dragon Pit. All right, Labrov looking for that angle. X-Flash will be up pretty soon, as we know, and now Caps will find On. Empress Divide goes down, and On does have the ultimate. Might be able to use it here. Does land it onto Caps, but that magical journey is not one that he is allowed to take. That one's back in Soul.
And Broken Blade is just running away with the side lane, racing now against the Silas here. 4 feats of strength. Dragon is going to go over as well here to G2, and that's the turret secured here. And that's feats of strength with it. And G2 just utilizing the volatile top lane matchup, the advantage they have there, pushing that pressure point so hard.
Well, now Cap's going to get jumped on here. Wind becomes lightning. There's the True Shot Barrage as well. Labrov trying to keep it in order, and down goes the Azir. Broken Blade wanting to get amongst it, but this is 4 versus 2, and not something that G2 really want to take. But now Skumon's making his way over. Hansama's there as well. He can call on the hunt. They are moving pretty quickly. He's looking to try and ricochet around this fight. Elkanon down so incredibly low. As Hansama does manage to lock that one down. Broken Blade looking for On. And now Knight getting back in there with the chains. He knows that he's probably dead, and Hansama is able to flash his way out. Skimon will be able to chase down this Silas, but I don't know whether he's going to be killing him because there is just no damage.
Yeah, not without
is going to go back.
Some help from Hansama. So like you say, I think he's just going to get out. Knight is totally fine there.
This is going to be a really difficult one for BLG to navigate their way back into, because right now G2, they have such a great lead, and their composition scales like fine wine, man.
There's no turret here for Ben.
Yeah, he is going to alcove game for a moment. Does get a teleport.
Time, get away with this, but this play here is really greedy on the side of G2. Skimon can ult from super far away to buy some space, and the Brav is the bodyguard man I'd want to hire. As Caps is just going to sidestep the ult, right? And LeBron buys so much time here as Broken Blade comes back over. But unfortunately, the fight here is just too broken up for G2, and the ultimates to survive and buy time were so front-loaded that it's a really easy cleanup here from BLG. Caps makes the right call to take the Herald out, and will, luckily for him, survive. But this is a big swing of gold back into BLG's pockets.
Yeah, Hansama just finding himself in a really awkward position as he tries to regroup with the rest of the team. And that was where Beishuan was able to pounce. Really good capitalization from some mispositioning here.
Is to buy time here for the Azir to pick up a turret and TP into the fight.
I feel like BLG are just going to look to try and start it as quickly as possible, as there's the Nature's Grasp. They're looking to lock down Bin, but he's immune. The old Gwen Adage.
But it buys time, and Caps gets that turret. Now he's going to continue to push, and BLG have to make some tough calls here. On in trouble.
Yep, On is just going to get ripped to shreds. Oh, not quite enough there with the Boomerang Blade. But it is going to be the sapling that burns him down. The immediate trade, though, jungler for support. You probably take that if you're BLG, and they're looking for even more. Counter-strike to come down as Broken Blade looking to get out.
Caps.
G2 trading even at this point?
I mean,
Caps,
Caps,
not what they want.
They don't end up, though, TPing Caps in, and he's going to get a second turret there in the top side.
Yeah. Maybe I spoke too soon, as now Hansama is just going to get ripped apart. Elk just looking great now. I believe just picked up the 2-item spike. And he is able to put on that pressure. That's going to mean the BLG move over. They're going to look to take down their second dragon of the game. And man, as the Otacon, now a consideration here for G2. I feel like Otacon, teams learned that this is a thing that we should probably not throw our lives away for. But in this tournament, we are throwing our lives away for it again. As instead, this time around, it is BB just trying to destroy everyone that walks towards him. Oh my goodness, that was not the magical journey that On was looking for. And Hansama with the On the Hunt is now just going to back his way out. The rest of the team just going to be moving real quick if they'd like to. There's a lot of fog of war here that BLG has to deal with as there's the flash forward. Headbutt to get Beishuan out of the way, and the Crescent Guard is not guarding against enough. Caps down incredibly low. A beautiful pulverize has now been trying to snip, and dash his way out, and he will be able to stay alive, but they're not going to be anywhere on this map for when G2 wants to take anything they would like.
Yeah, G2 very low. I don't think they'll necessarily want to commit to this Otacon, but with everyone else having to back away, TP showing topside here for Caps as well. They can just say, all right, well, you guys don't have a lot of vision here. This side laning Caps threat, I think, was something that maybe BLG wasn't necessarily as prepared to deal with, and going to see an attempted steal here. It's very early, unfortunately, for Elk, though. This is going to be the second dragon of the game here for G2. Again, not a consequential dragon by any means, but they have so much map control, and these side laners just go straight back to it.
Yep. He doesn't quite like that. He's like, no, you're a tank, be a tank.
But in some of these scenarios, I mean, we saw the sapling kill earlier. It's pretty huge.
I like helps you, man. I'm into it.
It helps you rush down an Otacon, and I mean, the lack of vision here, there's nothing
to bring us to a third game once again here in our first day of knockouts at the EWC.
And this is just a dominant performance here from G2. Had some pretty big leads in game one, but this was something different. This is very different from the look we saw from this team at MSI just a week ago. And they're bringing us to 3, the full distance here.
Yep, exactly right. But there is still one more game to go, an even series here in our last one of the day, as we are going to take a short break. When we get back, that last game.
I feel like this LeBlanc pick doesn't fit the identity of this comp in really any way to me. You're strong into the Rumble, you're strong into the squishy Renata, if you can isolate her, maybe even if you find Vi.
Okay. Well, the face melter might actually come on through here as Broken Blade going to get punished for his great performance. That flash
was
the right one. It absolutely was. He still has to use flash, right? His knight is dead. What? Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to need to see a little bit of a replay.
That's why Bin paused. It's like, what the hell? That shouldn't have happened. Great knock-up here from Broken Blade as well as his army of minions comes on in. And the aggression continues here as Lebrov's having to flash away from Elk and on here on this bottom lane. And Caps looking for a bit of an angle, and my God, that is so much damage. He actually decides to go back in, though.
Over here is going to take a Gromp in return, I suppose, but maybe not.
Yeah, they know that he's here, and Broken Blade going to move on up as well. There's a lot of stuff here on the ground, and Beishwan, he flashed, but where are we flashing to?
This is such a weird start to this game, and it's not good for BLG. I'll tell you guys.
I would put it in the cons column, Wolf. I'm going to put that one in the cons column. Cap's going to be able to pick up that kill. He is on 300 health. At least Beishwan was able to do some damage back. The European special in the tree, and has now continued that momentum forward onto this early game play with the Trundle. Here's a crash down as Beishwan, great angle, handshake is going to be there to put Lebrov down, but unfortunately the bailout doesn't happen early enough, so they're unable to benefit from that kill. Elk still bouncing around the fight.
Because we could have been looking at a 2-0 here for G2, and things gone just a little bit differently, right? But they
exactly.
still...
It could have been a cringe 7-gamer, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it would have been so sad and frustrating.
But they still keep their mental fortitude. They still are able to stay focused, and we'll see if BLG could do the same, because right now they need to.
Yep. Well, Lebrov and Hansama down here towards the bottom side, now laning against Bin as the lane swap has occurred.
Yeah, we haven't
Blade taking a bit of damage towards the top side of the map as the equalizer is going to be employed just to grab some tempo back.
We haven't really
get on these grubs.
touched on the fact that this Ornn
Did employ the ultimate, but that of course is one of the lowest cooldown ultimates in the game.
Knight
So that is
still low.
Yeah, exactly right. Lebrov making his way in, and oh, the crash down Magnet Storm. Not going to allow him to bounce through that circle at all.
That Aurora out of the game, and now Caps has full control of mid, and they could just turn this into a dragon take, but they're going to get plates first. 20 seconds until that Infernal spawns.
Oh my goodness, well, there's the equalizer down. Flash out from Skewmont immediately to make sure that he isn't burnt to a crisp. And with the chains, that is going to deny any follow-up here as On moving in. The dragon is going to spawn like you were talking about, Caps. Looking for that low health bar on Beishwan. The flash forward, and Caps picks up the kill. Gets himself all the way back and actually just takes them on a merry jaunt around the rift and is going to be absolutely fine. The hostile takeover not doing too much here, but Skewmont will get shut down by Bin, who has a big flamethrower and doesn't really like all the funny business that's been going on.
They're looking for the kill on the Caps here.
Yeah, there is Knight flashing forward, manages to take down Caps here, and BLG will be able to answer very, very nicely. Maybe a slight overstep as Elk looking to try and take down Lebrov. Doesn't necessarily have a massive amount of damage.
Broken Blade didn't have TP, but is getting a lot of push in that top lane all the while, so at least they get that on the cross map here. A few plates picked up for the Ornn, and ultimately do end up getting punished, have to reset, and that means that BLG, despite that initial pick for G2, will get this dragon and tie things up here. The gold lead for G2 has shrunk significantly. It's really just 300 now, the advantage they hold. But the bigger picture here is BLG take the objective and take a kill back.
They do. Now Bin is in a bit of trouble. Does throw down the equalizer to try and get some damage onto Skewmon, but this time he has all of his buttons available, and in fact even invests to subjugate against Bin. Really didn't want to die and didn't want Bin to get away. That is going to be successful as now Lebrov and Skewmon looking to wrap around once again as Beishwan is here towards his top side. The Mega Cone going to bring them in. There's the Magnet Storm, but Beishwan able to get himself out of the way because the focus is on this turret. That is going to be feats of strength going over to G2, but can they keep themselves alive as the rest of the BLG cavalry turns up? The Fate's Call was optimistic at best, and they do manage to take down the Trundle.
Yeah, he sacrifices himself to get out there. They end up getting a kill in the turret, though.
His Canic Rockon was just completed, but now has another Negatron Cloak. That one I know is a cape. I didn't think it was a jellyfish ever. Like, not one time, I promise. But he's going to be building into that item number 2 pretty quickly.
If it's just a Vi and the rest of the team has vision, they could just collapse on her and kill her. And they get the turret as well.
All right, well, an equalizer goes down as Caps was trying to keep that chain in position. That was gorgeous, though, as Broken Blade comes in and says, thank you very much for all that work you've done, Caps. You can get out of here now. And the G2 fans feeling pretty happy about how this game has headed over the last little while. As On going to get stunned up. There's a Magnustorm once again as he flashes to get himself out of the way. And Beishwan was thinking about going in.
Now they're going to take even this mid-turret down that they dented earlier. And I mean, the gold lead just gets bigger and bigger. Looks like it might not quite go down just yet.
Yep, Valkyrie going to come on through here as the Fate's Call is going to be the attempt. But now Lebrov in perfect position. They managed to get this this pillar down as well in a great spot. As Elk not going to need the bailout because he just pulls all the sticks from this troll and takes him down. Hansama also going to be executed by Knight, who finds him off to the side, and in the blink of an eye, BLG will take control. They'll look to take down this outer turret, and they get themselves right back to gold parity, or at least
+1 charge.
definitely close.
Yeah, +1 charge goes through, and they're actually just looking to take this inner out straight up, and they will get it. A big turnaround there. And we've seen LPL Kallistas do big work across the years, and Elk is, man, 3-0 and 3 now on this Kallista. Did so much damage there, forced the flash out, so the Rend couldn't connect, but he just changes targets and takes out Skumond. And I mean, at this point, BLG should just be able to get this Dragon straight up for free. Yep. There's nothing that Broken Blade can do about it at this moment in time. And the rest of the team is still licking their wounds from that double turret take. And
I do respect it from Skumond, as of course, you know, you do want to try and at least get something back in those moments, but it doesn't quite work out as Arakan has already been started. Skumond is just smacking it. And now they're going to look for the turn. The Ram coming on through here as the knockup is only going to be used onto Bin because they didn't need it for the top side of the fight. The equalizer goes down, but Bin not quite getting the value that he's looking for. And G2 drawing first blood in the fight, now looking for another one. The 3-man on that Magnustorm is beautiful, and down goes Beishwan. This is not his game today. They are BLG having to deal with the fact that both of their utility picks are dead.
G2 are able to identify they have this pocket of vision on Otacon, can start it up, and because they have the Ornn who can engage from so far away, and the follow-up is real.
I think that can be confirmed. That one I'm not silly about.
I thought it was a utility build, but I don't know.
And Triforce is obviously a misbuilt fan. As G2 do get the knock up here onto On, but he does have the hostile takeover. That's used only onto Broken Blade, though, who is looking borderline immortal at this point in time.
I mean,
Bin
get the TP.
Getting in there with the teleport. You're exactly right. Equalizer in a choke point is normally good, but Caps goes in, gets a distortion over everyone, and look at them. They're all grouped up in G2, turning their own situation against them, as the Magnustorm only onto one isn't necessarily what they want, but it's Elk who has to use a fair bit to try and get himself out of there. All of the health bars on the Rift are so extraordinarily low.
And they were so close to having an incredible bailout moment there. I mean, he had the flash. I thought for sure he goes in and looks for the reset there, but they are too timid to do it.
How did
the
no one
fight
die?
is so split up. And this may be the last stand here for BLG if they get wiped on this fight, which is, by the way, just for a second Chemtech Drake here for G2. They should not overextend into this.
Yep, the Manazane actually completed here as well for Hansama, just in the nick of time as On is taken so low. Fate's Call going to be used, though, and we'll see whether BLG can get the turnaround as they do decide to throw him in on top of Broken Blade, and the bailout does absolutely nothing. The on-horn! BB's a god today! And down they all go. G2 are looking at semifinals.
I mean, it looks like they really are. And I said, you know, it's just a second Drake here for G2. It's just a Chemtech Dragon. You could probably just say, well, we don't have Prio. Let's look for something else. But they commit anyways. The Fate's Call has to be used so early in the fight. Never a hostile takeover. The combo with Broken Blade and Lebrov, the Magnet Storm and the Call of the Forge God just rips BLG a new one. The timing of this so good for G2. They grab this Drake for free. They can clear that vision. Coming in here with the control vision as a support, like, you're playing Renata here on. I just can't agree with this decision. Doesn't end up using the ultimate here and is just burst down, which means he has to Fate's Call.
But why BB? Why was he the target? That's my big bit of doubt is LeBron's setup and then the knockdown here. Just beautiful.
Well, I think it was one of those moments where you're like, I have to Fate's Call for safety, but I got to turn that into a positive somehow. But Hansama was so far away. He also had his Valkyrie available. Like, you're not going to get him. You're not going to get Caps on the LeBlanc. So
Dylan Falco actually reacted to that one that time as down goes Beishwan yet again as we hop out of the replay. And G2 going from good to good. And that's the jungler, guys. Baron is now up and available, and G2, they can head over there. Maybe not wanting to go for any sort of 50-50s. I know you say it's not a 50-50 because the jungle is dead, but Knight's alive. And we all remember game one. Still, they're just going to make sure that BLG cannot get anywhere near this pit. And things are very, very dark on the Rift right now as Caps gets off towards the side. Knight is discovered by the LeBlanc as the On is going to get so much CC down. Bin is just melting as Caps goes golden, flashes out of the way of the buttons that Knight is trying to put down, and another array of skills comes in. Beautifully played in the mid-off, as we just saw as Caps gets the solo kill on the right-hand side of the team fight.
G2's franchise player says, I am better today in this final game, in this wild card pick of the LeBlanc, because we have a fight for the Baron.
This is getting a little bit messy now as the cease and desist comes in. Beishuan is going to take the exit and now going to look to go back as Cap says, no, Elk, you're not allowed to play the game. It's okay, just a rocket from downtown as Hans Sama did see him go into that brush on the control ward, and they take down the Baron. G2 going to follow Bin to his base, I think, and look to try and take down at least an inhibitor turret. Phenomenal pillagers there as we saw as G2 looking to just clean up the scraps.
I mean, these are some really long death timers. They can get some serious base damage done here.
They really can. On going to flash out of the way of the Ornhorn, but I don't think that's going to save him. The handshake is going to be top of the morning to your Caps as then he goes down. Knight also not going to get bailed out of this one. And G2 really come alive here in these last two games.
It's a big wave.
Sweep, or at least the mini one.
Yeah.
In this best of three as they will break the base.
It's a big wave. Elk is going to be the first to respawn here, but he alone is not going to be able to defend this push. I mean, I think it's going to be really hard. No Rumble. Equalizer up in 15. They're going to make a play for it.
Yep, and they have no money either. It has ballooned to a 10,000 gold lead with the Baron available as well. These minions so difficult to get through. And Elk, he can do nothing. Look at BB's face, man. There are just grins from ear to ear on G2, and they will be able to take down BLG after being swept at MSI. These three games went a whole lot differently.
Kind of rough for BLG, not gonna lie.
Yeah, strong emphasis there on the gameplay, not necessarily the draft by Elk. BLG will head back on over to the LPL in the upper group.